All right, y'all. I'm back with another video, and today I'm gonna react to Joe Biden heading to Saudi Arabia for more oil. Let's see what this is all about.
President Biden heading to Saudi Arabia this week to beg for oil, and he's trying to defend the trip. In an op-ed written by him or his team, the president tries Saudi Arabia as an important, quote, strategic partner, even though a couple of years ago he calls the kingdom a pariah after the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
In the op-ed, Biden writes, from the start, my aim was to reorient but not rupture relations with a country that's been a strategic partner for 80 years. Today, Saudi Arabia has helped to restore unity among the 6 countries of Gulf Cooperation Council and is now working with my experts to help stabilize oil markets with other OPEC producers. I know that there are many who disagree with my decision to travel to Saudi Arabia. My views on human rights are clear and long-standing, and fundamental freedoms are always on the agenda when I travel abroad. Biden's visit seen as a desperate tactic to combat high gas prices, which have been one of the biggest black marks on his presidency. The average
Without question. Even though gas has gone down slightly, it's still relatively high in most areas.
average gallon of regular is about 50% more than what drivers were paying just a year ago. And Biden's team even changed plans for the trip because the president couldn't handle it, a claim written in a New York Times piece just recently. And before we get started, guys, I want to go a little further into this New York Times article by Peter Baker. I'll read a quote here. It explains, quote, the trip was initially tacked onto another journey last month to Europe, which would have made for an arduous 10-day overseas trek until it became clear to Mr. Biden's team that such extended travel might be unnecessarily taxing for a 79-year-old president.
Of course, he can barely, let's be real here. Dude can barely hold a sentence together. He reads everything off the teleprompter, and he wants to go overseas now to beg the Saudis for oil, but it's still going to cost money it's still going to cost a lot for the freight costs to get it from there to here. When we have oil here in the United States, I don't really see the point of him doing that because we could just drill oil here and that'll definitely drive the prices down. But what the hell do I know?
Or, quote, crazy, as one official put it. Joey, I'll go to you first on this.
You know, you have to be able to do the job. I mean, it's that simple. Listen, I'm not going to attack Biden's cognitive decline. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you. And I wasn't around for the last 40 years to see if he was as bad 40 years ago as he is today. I don't know. But at 79 years old, if you can't do the job, and right now it matters to get the job done.
Facts. Because if you look at his approval rating recently, people are not happy with what he's doing. They're not happy with his performance at all. And he's becoming a bigger joke around the world.
That's a problem. And so if we move that topic back over to this one at hand, you know, what really struck me about this op-ed is it's one of those kind of moral equivalency things. He had to throw in the Israel West Bank comment of like, you know, well, this is no different than we all support Israel and they're oppressing the Palestinians. Like, no. This is very different. I have no problem with him working with Saudi Arabia. I have no problem with Trump trying to get a deal done with North Korea. Listen, we don't get to decide how other countries how other dictatorships dictate. We don't get to decide that. We know what most of these countries are up to, and there's a lot of them that we play nice with that are up to just as bad of things. However, if you're going to get elected on this moral superiority and making these promises of, I'm going to make them a pariah, then you at least need to be called out when you change course and you write an op-ed to do it, which was.
Yeah, Biden's been known to he's been doing a lot of flip-flopping lately. He's saying he's going to, cancel all student loans. He's got some canceled, but as far as all of them, I really doubt he'll be able to do that because that's going to really tear our economy up if you think about it. I mean, because how is he going to pay back if all those are canceled? How are all the loan companies going to get paid back the money they're still owed? And that's gonna really drive things out of control.
pretty pitiful in mine.
Lucy, I think this is a good time for me to jump in, seeing as I am a doctor, and I felt like Joey teed me up for that.
He got you all set.
So, first of all, we joke about the fact that President Biden's getting older, but the fact that even his team is saying, 10 days of consecutive work, that's just too much for the man. But we make jokes about it, but it's actually not funny. And as Joey's mentioning, there's a job to be done. And we know that peak cognition does happen around age 30, which is why you say president's minimum age to be president, you have to be 35. Peak cognition, peak physical strength. And now here we are with the president who it's clear. You don't have to be a treating physician to say that he's struggling a little physically and maybe mentally.
No, a little's an understatement. He is struggling big time, and physically and mentally. If you've watched a lot of his bloopers that he's had, him falling off a bike, that really put the icing on the cake there. And him constantly reading everything on teleprompters. This dude's a mess. He's not going to get better. He's just going to get worse, if you ask me.
With his age and the subsequent restrictions with that. Here we are. He is approaching 80 years old. The life expectancy on average in the United States. Now, everyone ages differently. Let's remember, you see some pretty old 60-year-olds and some sprightly 90-year-olds. Everyone ages differently. But at this point, are we really just pushing it a little too far with President Biden? He is getting older and he is having difficulty. And if they're saying that he can't actually do 10 days abroad because he needs his little break in his Delaware home, this is time for Republicans and Democrats to really come together and say, is this the person who is going to be the face of the free world on the international stage? And I can tell you my opinion is no.
And Jimmy.
No, he cannot be the face of the free world. I don't see him, he's going to have the next fight from 2023 to 2024. It's going to be rough for him. Because if you think he's doing bad now, 2 more years, he'll be 82. He'll be 82 or 81 in the next 2 years. So I just can't imagine things getting better for him.
Peter Baker did talk to some experts who called him a super ager, saying that he's actually more fit than what you would expect, which is interesting. But when you talk about, when Nicole talks about, Republicans and Democrats having this conversation, the very interesting part are the Democrats. The Democrats are the ones having this conversation. The voices are getting louder. And the vice president was just recently asked about this. Take a listen.
There is speculation among some Democrats and some Republicans that President Biden won't run for re-election in 2024. What's your message to those who say that?
Listen to President Biden. He intends to run. And if he does, I intend to run with him. So there you go.
Oh, there's that cackling laugh again. She knows good and well Biden will not run. Can we stop the cap? Please stop the cap. This man does not need to run in 2024 at all.
Okay. So he intends to run, and if he intends to run.
Can we just acknowledge she has the ultimate don't hit it to me face in left field? The little kid is like, don't hit it to me, don't hit it to me, don't hit it to me. They're like, you're vice president, they're always going to hit it to you. She always acts surprised. No, there is no serious person who thinks he is running in 2024. We dignify this because we respect the office of the presidency. And until he openly stipulates that he's not running, we have to play along like he might. But there's no world where he's running. And bless Kamala Harris's heart for saying she'd be the VP. Kamala Harris is the only woman polling behind Amber Heard right now. She has a better chance of being VP.
She's falling behind Amber Heard of all people. I did not know that. I did not know that at all. If you knew that, let me know in the comments below.
This is my frustration with the overseas trip. And yes, I'm not a doctor. I did win a game of Operation once, very thoroughly, by the way.
Against me.
Of all things. But I am kind of surprised that they do bother sending him overseas. They could probably just send him to Epcot and tell him he's out of the country, and he probably wouldn't know. But
look, if Biden's going to talk to the Saudis, he might as well do it over the internet via video chat, video call, or something, if he can't take the flight over there. If you ask me, if he really needs to just talk to them.
Jokes aside, this is a serious thing. And it's very frustrating to people like me, who, as a former cab driver, have great empathy for people getting crushed by gas prices. We know This is a supply and demand issue. Him going to Saudi Arabia is an admission that this is a supply and demand issue. And we know the solution is right here beneath our feet, but he's being held hostage by the far left environmental wing of the party who will not sign the permission slip to let him drill here. He's afraid he's going to get yelled at by AOC while she's cooking macaroni and cheese on Instagram. So he's got to go over to Saudi Arabia. But this is the fraud of the green energy movement, okay? We burn it.
So that's the big reason he won't drill anything here. He's worried about what AOC is going to think, man. Yeah, that's definitely a sign of a weak man.
Cleaner here. So when you get the same amount of oil overseas, by default, you're creating more pollution, and you're tacking on fuel to get it back here.
Not only that, we export the cleanest liquid natural gas in the world as well.
Thank you.
And here's the juxtaposition, right? President Biden is concerned about a 10-day trip to Saudi Arabia. He's already got an envoy in Venezuela looking for oil and gas. So he's going to Saudi Arabia, Venezuela. President Trump just gave a speech in Alaska.
Yeah.
Right? That's the juxtaposition here. And Americans are going to see that. Listen, don't go to Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. Go to Texas, Oklahoma, and Alaska.
Let's listen to some of what the President Trump had to say, former President Trump.
Tee that up for you, Mike.
Yeah, you did it.
We also issued the first ever leases for oil and gas production in the region. Never happened. Unfortunately, the Biden administration canceled those leases, and now our entire country is paying a very steep price, not only at the pump, all over. And as our great fishermen will tell you, the soaring cost of fuel is a disaster for Alaska fishers, risking putting them virtually out of business. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant, which we were just 2 short years ago.
And boy, was that a difference. Like I'll say this so that I miss filling up my ride for only $11. Like that felt so good. Because paying almost $30 just from halfway is like, it's going to eat up. It's over time. It's going to eat up. It's going to continue to eat up your money because when food is, I said this in the previous videos, when gas is up, food is up, everything else goes up. It is nonstop madness by this administration because he simply doesn't know what he's doing. It's not, most Americans are not down for, these high gas prices and food prices. They would much rather us be energy independent because that saves everybody money.
We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and Saudi Arabia for oil. Please give us oil. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation in the world, but we're begging them for oil.
So the Biden administration likes to point out recently that gas has gone down incrementally every day for 25 days, which is true. We're still paying, though, Jimmy, $1.50 more than we were a year ago.
Yeah, that's why when he tries to spin it off as like Putin's price hike, the price had gone up for 14 straight months before Putin invaded Ukraine. So that's a scam. And again, and again, and again. People see through this. It's the reason he's polling where he is he's put so much more effort into assigning blame for the crisis than trying to solve the crisis. We have a solve, okay? If you boost production here, it's supply and demand, the price goes down. But he doesn't want to do that because, again, Joe Biden is the presidential equivalent. If you've ever had an elderly relative with dietary restrictions, they're not allowed to eat what they want. They go out to the restaurant, they're like, I'll have the lasagna. And then the aunt pulls the waiter aside and is like, Grandpa can't have cheese, bring him the chicken, he won't know the difference. That's what he ran on, I'll have the moderation. But then Pelosi grabbed the waiter and was like, he can't have the moderation, bring him the bacon-wrapped green energy socialism garbage instead. And that's why we are where we are.
And, I'm going to hit it right there. It's... This guy right here nailed it right on the head. We have oil here in America. We need to just drill that oil. Stop getting oil from other countries because that's what's keeping the prices up, obviously, because it costs money to transport that oil from one country to another, especially from the Middle East to the United States. That's a very long distance. And people are still going to end up paying high prices at the gas pump. So, anyways, that's all I got to say for this video. What do you guys think about this? Do you agree with Joe Biden going to Saudi Arabia and begging them for oil? Do you think we should just drill oil here in the United States? Let's talk about it down in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.